Hello everyone! So it is the beginning of a new year, 2021, which means that it is time to start rolling out the introductions for Project Pans. This is my introduction to Pan That Palette for 2021. This is a project that I have tried a few times before and never been particularly successful, but I am rather determined this year, so we'll see how I go. This year I'll be doing a Pan That palette as well as a Pan That face palette and a baby Pan That palette, so I'll introduce those all individually. The concept of Pan That palette was started by Amber F on YouTube. I'll link her channel down below, but a few years ago she decided to pan an entire Urban Decay Naked palette. She was successful, and then every year since, she and a bunch of other people who were inspired by her try to pan an entire eyeshadow palette in 1 year. This year I'll be joining forces with the Pantastic Ladies, which is a panning collaboration group on Facebook. I'll link them down below as well if you're interested in joining. The main purpose of the group is to connect with other people who love project panning and creating different collaborations and sharing our progress with each other. So the theme for Pan That palette through the Pantastic Ladies this year is Tiny Pans. This was started by Sarah and was voted by the whole community to be our theme for 2021, and it's being interpreted as either your palette with the smallest looking pans or your palette with the smallest pans in terms of weight. I did mention a few videos ago that I was considering panning this palette this year, and it just so happens to also be the palette with the smallest pans in terms of weight as well as how they look in my collection. So this year I am going to be panning the Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina palette. This is how my palette looks at the moment. I already have pan in 2 shades that I hit pan in this year. The first one here is Incense, which is a matte mid-tone warm brown. And the other shade is Wild Child, which is a very glittery pink. I also have a really good dip in Love here, but I haven't actually hit pan in it. So this is a palette that I purchased, I think, in the middle of 2018, and since then it hasn't gotten a whole lot of love in my collection, but I would really like to pan it completely. This is a color story that really appeals to me. I am a little bit more cool toned in my preferences than this, but I do love pink and purple, and this has 2 really nice glittery pinks and purples, so I honestly don't think it'll be too much trouble to try and pan this in a year. Each of these pans contains 0.71 grams of product, so it's not all that much product. They're also really soft, so I know that they are relatively easy to hit pan in. I've seen a lot of people over the years pan Anastasia Beverly Hills products, and this I think will be just as easy as those were. Other than my Natasha Denona palette, which I kind of use as a collection of singles, this is my largest eyeshadow palette in my collection, so it would actually feel really good to be able to finish it in a year and move it out. I'm definitely leaning more towards using single shadows or depotting eyeshadow palettes and using them as singles in my collection at the moment. I'm not really into this kind of like curated for you color story at the moment, and I would really like to be able to move this one out. So there you go, that is my plan for Pan That palette for 2021. My goals for the first month for January, I would really love to try and finish the shade Incense. I don't know if I'll actually be able to do it, but using at least most of it would be really great. As you can see, I've already hit side pan up on the top there. I would also really love to hit pan in either Summer or this one over here, Dreamer. I use Dreamer as an inner corner highlight, and I use Summer as an all-over lid shade. Those 2 I would really like to be able to hit pan in January. So these are my goals for the first month, and we'll see how I go. I'll have all of the Pantastic Ladies who are involved in this project linked down below, whether that's on Instagram or on YouTube, and you'll be able to follow us all and see how we do with our Tiny Pans project. One of my favorite YouTube channels to follow is Paula on A Beauty Guru Made Me Do It. She does every year a baby Pan That palette. Now I don't know if she's the one who created the baby Pan That palette, but she's definitely the one who introduced the concept to me. So what she does is she kind of picks a little palette, whether that's a quad or a duo or a trio, and she uses it in conjunction with her Pan That palette for the year and tries to finish it in the full year as well. So because I'm jumping back on the bandwagon for Pan That palette, I also wanted to choose a baby Pan That palette. So the palette I've chosen is a little quad that I made myself from the brand Surratt. So these are 4 eyeshadows that I chose and put together in a quad many years ago. I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago I made this, and it hasn't gotten a whole lot of use in my collection. I've hit pan in this shade up here, and I've got a good dip in this pan here, but I'm nowhere near finishing it. I'll link down below the names of all of these colors because I actually don't remember, but I would love to be able to finish this in 2021. It is one of my older eyeshadow products and I do really like it, but I would like to be able to move it out. Firstly, because it's really old, and secondly, because it's not cruelty free. So that is my choice for my baby Pan That palette for 2021. And then as well, I wanted to join in on the Pan That face palette project as well. I have no idea who started Pan That face palette. I think it is originally kind of a companion palette to the eyeshadow palette, or maybe people were using it as a replacement because a lot of people find eyeshadows much harder to pan than face products. I'm not sure who started it, I'm sorry, but if you know, please let me know down below. But the purpose is very clear. You're gonna pan an entire face palette in 1 year. So this year, I'm picking something that's been on my channel quite a bit over the years. This is the Stila Field of Florals Dual Lip and Cheek palette. So this is a bunch of the convertible colors that they make, which is one of my favorite cream cheek products. I never use these on my lips, only as cream blushes. And this palette, again, I think I purchased maybe 6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and it's gotten a lot of love from me, but it's getting pretty old and I kind of just want to move it out. Each of these pans is 1 gram of product, and as you can see, I've already finished one. This was the shade Gerbera, and I've got really good pan on this one, Gladiola. I also have pan on this one, and this one, but they're really tiny so you can't see. The rest of them, I still have heaps of product left, though I do think I'll be able to finish them. It's 1 gram each pan, and as you can see, a lot of them have less than 1 gram left. I think the hardest will be this row here. As you can see, I've hardly used any of those, so they're all basically full, and that's because they are the least neutral, the hardest to use on my skin tone. But I would really love to use this palette up this year. It still smells totally fine, but it is very old, and I'd like to move on to some of my other products. So the Stila Field of Florals convertible color palette is going to be my Pan That face palette for 2021. So there you go, that is my first introduction video for my Pan That palette projects for 2021. Please let me know if you're joining in with any kind of project for this year. I'd be really interested to see what palettes you're panning, and I'll also link as well the Pantastic Ladies Facebook group if you want to join in on the Tiny Pans project for this year. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.